Are you having a wonderful day? I myself, I'm always having a wonderful day. This is your neighborhood sensei Fouché, and I always begin my shows by first strongly suggesting, before emphatically imploring, for all of you beautiful, wonderful, self-loving, worthy individuals to stay woke. But in the process, never get all stressed out, you know what I'm saying? Make sure you take all necessary practices and procedures, including environmental change when and if necessary, to relax. And always, always be prepared to take those notes. Oh man, pardon me for a second. Today is July 31st, 2026. And here in the States of America, in the Mountain Zone region, it is 1:31 in the afternoon, 1:31 p.m. here in these States of America. Today, in our reading, we are going to cover chapter 5 of our fantastic novel by Eric Robertson, titled Control Your Mind and Master Your Feelings. Chapter 5 is titled Break the First Chain, A Cluttered Mind. Now, before we get into our reading exercise, let me get into an opening statement, because I have a lot of conversations all the time with troubled people, confused people, people that feel incomplete, insecure, and I be tired of the excuses. I tell you, I'm tired of it. It's exhausting to try to impart some very helpful information, and people are so into wanting other people to feel sorry for them that they don't even focus about helping themselves. All they want to do is just relay problems, not, chop it up and exchange solutions. Like, they're so overly focused on the problem and being problem based, as opposed to being aware of a problem and then processing a solution. I mean, I hear ADD, ADHD all day, every day, some form of fashion, every other day in a conversation with someone that is problem-based or is closely connected or related to living with someone that is extremely problem-based and very dependent. And they give all the excuses to validate, them continuing to be like that. You know what I'm saying? As if there's no hope for them to be better. And there is hope for them to be better. The thing is, do they really want to be better? Or do you really want them to be better? Do you find yourself needing them to be dependent on you? Or is it their choice to make you feel obligated into taking care of them and having them be dependent on you? ADD or ADHD is not an isolated incident. There are so many individuals that have that. It's pretty common. It's more common than uncommon. I mean, I have attention deficit disorder. I mean, I'm not going to go through all of the examples, but there are moments, many moments during the course of a day where I could easily be distracted or I lose focus and attention towards what I'm primarily supposed to be doing. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people respect and honor, who I am and how I move. But being real about it, like being human, as far as, the lower level of you, the conscious con of you, that person is always distracted. You know what I'm saying? There are a lot of distracted people, and then there are people that are aware of that and put the work into minimizing those distractions. And that's what it's really about. It's really about minimizing the distractions. I still get distracted every single day. Like, I'm into doing my work thing and I'm kind of bored at the moment into, my flow of work, and I easily go into a distraction tool. And I have to tell myself shortly after, like, don't get over dependent on this distraction tool, because then it's going to deter and steer you away from what you are primarily supposed to be focused on. And then you're going to wind up creating problems behind your obligation, your necessary obligation, because you choose to be distracted into something that has little relevance or importance for you at the moment. But your fallback or your autopilot into the label of boredom is to direct yourself into an unnecessary distraction. And then your attention winds up being deflected away from where your focus is primarily supposed to be. And that happens to all of us. So I'm tired of the Castaway, Tom Hanks talking to a volleyball excuses that all these folks keep giving. Because the reality is, you don't care about getting better, you don't want to get better, or you're really comfortable in letting other people not only think for you, but do for you as well. And the people that claim to be the victims from these type of people, are you encouraging or enabling for these individuals to be like that because of how you are wired emotionally, psychologically, and mentally? Do you need that dependent, or you create the need for that person to be dependent on you because of whatever insecurities or shortcomings you have in how you feel about yourself? You know what I'm saying? Let's be real about that. Because all these things can be solved by accepting what is, letting go of what isn't important, and embracing new techniques into being able to create healthy habits. And that's what it's really about. You know what I'm saying? And I don't even know if I should go further into, because I could rant about how many people, again, that I speak with daily that have some form of attention disorder. So if you're trying to feed me the cheese along with the bologna and claiming that to be real, you know what I'm saying? And that's that pasteurized cheese. You know what I'm saying? Not that 100% authentic cheese. That pasteurized cheese along with the bologna. If you're trying to feed me that and tell me that that's real and that it's sustainable as a high level of healthy ingestion, metaphorically speaking, like, you ain't gonna sell me on that. Like, I already know that it's full of added materials and unnecessary ingredients. So anyway, let's get into our reading and start to educate ourselves into how to be healthy, emotionally, psychologically, mentally healthy, aside from your physical health. You know what I'm saying? Because if you are mentally healthy, your physical is going to fall behind your mental thinking or processing. I'm confident, you know what I'm saying? But let's proceed forward and start to read, because we have a lot to cover in this chapter. Aside from overthinking, the reasons why your mind would be so cluttered, causing you to worry all the time and keeping you up at night, is because you have a negative mindset. Negative mindset. You don't want to think glass half full. You always think glass half empty. You're not solution oriented. You are problem based. That's the beginning of things. The beginning of things is that you focus on problems more than the direction of solutions. Like, you keep cycling and circling around the problems instead of exchanging, chopping it up, and trying to encourage your thoughts in the direction of solution. First of all, your mind is cluttered with so much because you have trained yourself to obsess over even the smallest of thoughts, things that aren't really that important or relevant. You create your own stress. And I know I was talking about that in the last episode about my cat, Mr. Winter, who's right there, right behind me. He gave himself a urinary tract infection, and cats would normally do that by creating and developing a high level of stress, which is self-induced. It could also be that you have become so overwhelmed that all you see is negative views, and you have narrowed your mind due to the experiences in your life. The truth is, when we are young, we view the world as a place of creativity. When we are toddlers to teenagers, in most cases, we view ourselves with love and beauty. This is because we don't stress about bills, rent, our careers, our finances, etc. And kids or adolescents, they're stressed out about, their level of life as far as dealing socially with peers or other students, as well as, academically going through the system of learning and education and following lead. Are they able to handle those environments and be focused and attentive constructively, within those engagements of time? Once we become adults and move out on our own, the world is fresh, and we are looking at it from a new perspective. And it's just more of an advanced and a mature perspective. And where I'm a differ from what is being written or followed is that, from when we're young, there are things that we are supposed to focus on and follow and be directed towards. You know what I'm saying? So there is always some level of importance or induced stress that can be introduced from the earliest points of our life that aren't important from an adult perspective of having dependence underneath us. But in being a dependent in this interrelated world and dealing with other people socially and having a level of importance and duty into being a student or a child, there are certain conditions that are undervalued psychologically, from that time scale as well. Every experience that we undergo from when we were a child shapes us to who we are today. And somewhere along the line, we have become obsessed with thinking about every decision and every choice we have made or didn't make. We worry about our future and, more importantly, our children's future. Most people don't know what they are doing. They are just living on autopilot, which then causes questions like, what's my purpose? What am I doing? Where do I want to be? Who do I want to be? Over the years, we have developed a negative mindset based on our experiences. And with the overload of stress, we forget how to relax and what peace feels like. Or maybe you never knew what peace was because the people that were supposed to be our guides, they weren't at a point of living or understanding peace themselves. So we never understand the process of keeping or learning how to develop peace. You are the only one who can change your mindset and shape your life by taking a good look at what has you so stressed in the first place. And I know I was talking to my cousin about this on the phone earlier, like, yo, you need to really focus on what you are so stressed about in the first place, if you could do something about it, and is it really that important to stay focused on the problem as opposed to be directed towards a solution? Can you control what happened in the past? Nope, absolutely not. Can you control your future? Only to an extent. And that is based on how and what you do right now. How you think and do behind what you think right now. Can you control what you do right now? Absolutely. The trick is only focusing on right now, learning from the mistakes you made and striving towards your future goals to get you unstuck in the now. You need to be focused on what's going on right now. You could acknowledge something that just happened or already happened or happened before, but once it's happened, the next step is, what are you going to do about what has happened, as opposed to keep thinking about what happened. The power of mindfulness is extremely important in everything you do. The reason why being mindful is so crucial to learn and practice is because if you seriously want change in your life, everything you do should resolve around being mindful. So again, the reason why being mindful is so crucial to learn and practice is because if you seriously want change in your life, everything you do should revolve around being mindful. If your negative thoughts are getting the best of you, be mindful of them. If you are obsessing about the past or the future, stay mindful of this. If your workload is too demanding and you are taking on unnecessary stress, being mindful can help you relax. Everything you do can be associated with being completely in the present moment. If you are unaware of your actions based on your negative thoughts and results in your anxious state, then you will never be able to understand your triggers or create lasting and positive change. In short, if you want to change, you must do something different than you have done before. The first step is being more aware of it all. What is mindfulness? It is defined as becoming more aware of yourself internally to be able to handle and address what's going on externally. Being mindful of the day instead of your thoughts will bring your attention to your thoughts and how you feel about them. In any situation, you need to decide to be mindful of every moment to find your triggers. The goal of mindfulness is to be aware of your mental mind, your emotional state, and your physical surroundings in order to cope with or change the unwanted thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Mindfulness is not about changing anything, but being aware so you can make changes. Now, in order to be mindful at any moment, you need to understand and learn the basis of mindfulness on your own time. When you become good at observing yourself, you can become great at observing your life in stressful moments. Once this happens successfully, you can find ways around developing a positive attitude and finding a more healthy peace of mind by replacing where you decide to put your focus. Being mindful and mastering mindfulness will allow you to easily put space between yourself and your reactions. Mental mind to physical surroundings. Here is how to start being mindful every day. 1. Set a time to practice mindful meditation. Every day, find a peaceful time in the day and sit with yourself and your thoughts. At first, you won't be focusing on your thoughts until you become more experienced. 2. Be in the present moment exactly how it is. This is easier said than done. But for now, your only focus should be what is happening right now. Quiet your mind and focus on everything that is happening around you. Start by bringing your full attention to your breath. Don't try to change it, just observe it. Next, bring your focus to your body. Do you feel warm or cold? Anxious or calm? Angry or happy? Is your heart racing? Are your fingers tingling? Don't try to change it, just be mindful of it. 3. Don't be judgmental. This step is about just noticing when your brain goes, I feel bad. This is bad. Or the opposite. I feel happy. This is good. Don't judge or label your heart racing as bad or your good day as being happy. Notice when you make these judgments, make a note and let them go. 4. Return to your present moment. When we practice mindfulness, and let me take a sip of water right quick. When we practice mindfulness, our mind may wander and our brain will try to use this time as a thinking period. Notice your thoughts or judgments and return back to your breath. Don't change it, just notice it. Notice the feelings you have in your body. Notice your surroundings. What are people doing? How many colors do you see in the room? What does the air feel like? What sounds do you hear? How far away or close are they? Bring your focus back to your breath and just breathe naturally. 5. It's okay for your mind to wander. Trust me, it happens to all of us. My mind wanders all the time, but then I have to reset into being present. So that goes into that ADD again, or that ADHD, or whatever you want to use as your choice of label or diagnosis. At first, mindfulness meditation may feel impossible to achieve if you are doing it in the midst of your day, but it doesn't require any extra mental energy to do this. Mindfulness doesn't ask you to change what you are doing. It doesn't require you to intentionally avoid your thoughts and feelings. So when your mind has wandered once again, take note of this. Remember what you are doing, then come back and finish the exercise. You can choose to do this once a day, but it is better to do this multiple times a day. The goal is to be completely comfortable sitting with yourself and observing all that is around you and what's going on inside of you. As you make mindfulness a routine, you will start to develop an awareness of the triggers of your mental exhaustion and also which parts of the day you are the most distracted. When you become aware of these things, you can finally start tackling the clutter that has your mind jammed. When addressing the cluttered mind, you need to ask yourself, why does it seem so hard to focus on simple tasks? In truth, your mind can think 100 times faster than you speak. So in just 30 seconds or less, your mind has already processed the conversation, thought about what you are going to say next, and have built 50 different solutions. Have you ever sat down to focus on work at your computer or wanted to do your finances on a chart, but instead think, I will just check my Facebook first? Then once you have finished that, you see a topic that reminded you of a to-do you forgot about. Then stemming from what you start to beat yourself up because you forgot. Let's go over that whole sequence again. Have you ever sat down to focus on work at your computer or wanted to do your finances on a chart, but instead think, I will just check my Facebook first? Then once you have finished that, you see a topic that reminded you of a to-do you forgot about. Then stemming from that, you start to beat yourself up because you forgot. Now you think, I should make a list of my to-dos so I don't forget next time. But then your list turns into a chore list, a grocery list, and time passes without you even realizing it. Suddenly, it's time to make dinner and follow through with your nighttime routine. Work is now just a distant memory from when you first sat down. When you return to the project you originally wanted to start with, after you get everything else done, you stare at a blank computer screen and are mentally paralyzed because you have too much happening inside your mind. Why does this happen? It's because you are not putting space between yourself and your reactions from mindfulness. You are not trying to focus on just one thing. Instead, you are focusing on everything at once. This is where some people think multitasking comes in handy, but in fact, multitasking is the one thing that is stopping you from decluttering your mind. Focus on being able to do one thing at a time first. Once you're able to master doing those one things at a time individually, then you could start to combine things together. But focus on one thing at a time until you become a master at that, and then you could add on as you go along. And then as you add on and master the additions, then you can add on to those additions until you master that step. And then, you'll be high level functioning and being able to minimize distractions, taking you away from your primary to-dos and following through in those to-dos. It's like when you try to declutter your house. You will start in the kitchen, but then find dirty dish rags, so then you collect all the laundry. As you are collecting the laundry from every room, you may see that the beds haven't been made. You are already here, so why not make the beds before doing the laundry? As you are making your beds, you see that the floor hasn't been vacuumed or swept, so you quickly finish the beds and pull out your floor supplies from the kitchen, then realize you still haven't done the dishes. The point is that as you go through and clean your house, in this case your mind, you are so busy focusing on everything that needs to be done that you don't stop to slow down to do one thing at a time. Then by the end of the day, your house still looks messy, and yet you are wiped. When you notice those things, it's just taking a notation. So if you are in one room if you're in one room and then you go and notice something somewhere else, focus on that one thing first, finish that, and then go on to the next thing on your to-do list. And just focus on handling things in succession, completing one thing at a time instead of trying to jam 7 things all at the same time. Same thing for your mind. You have spent all day thinking about this, that, the next thing, and what color your shoes are, that by the time it comes down to the one thing that you wanted to focus on, you are too exhausted. So what do you do next? You put it off until the next day. And what happens? The same thing. By not giving yourself time to concentrate on one thing at a time, your fears, emotions, and attitude comes out strong, which serves no purpose, and you end up becoming more stressed than you need to be. What do we do about it? 2 words: brain dump. A brain dump is where you transfer what's happened in your mind to something else entirely, like a computer hard drive full of notes and writings or a piece of paper. This is where journaling can come in handy. If your brain is overloaded by overthinking about everything that's going on, start journaling to just get it out. Who knows, you may feel better and have a better perspective after. As far as your long lists of things to do and accomplish, write those down too, then organize them. I was just thinking about stating that once I finished this paragraph. Eventually, you won't need to make lists or write things down, as your brain will have processed and divided things up, so it is easier to focus on one thing at a time automatically. Here's how to do a brain dump. And I'm not going to itemize through that paragraph because I think it just explained itself, even though I was about to ad-lib off of that. So 1, Just 10 minutes a day. The exercise only has to take 10 minutes a day. Usually you would do this dump once the business of your day has ended, before or after mindfulness meditation, and before bed. However, you can do this anytime you want. If you feel stuck once you put your fingers to the keyboard or your pen to the paper, it's okay. Just write whatever comes to your mind. Other times you may feel as though you have tons to say and do. The important note to remember here is that you are not making any lists. You are simply just writing for 10 minutes whatever pops into your head. So first write all the stuff down, and then once you write all your thoughts down, then you could go through the process of organizing. It doesn't have to make sense, and you don't need to edit it. Make it funny if you have nothing or cannot think of anything to write. Simply just write, I have nothing to say. The creativity will flow from there. 2, organize your brain dump. This should be more like a mind map. When you read everything you wrote, take notes on the side about what you wrote, break into categories, family related, business related, hobby related, or any other thing you think would fit. Add important dates to a calendar. As the list grows, you will see which list is longer and which category needs the most attention. When you can take a look at this from a distance, you will be able to figure out which needs to be thought about now and which can be thought about in the near future, thus relaxing your mind and creating a less stressful environment for you. 3, make to-do lists about your ideas. Is there anything in that brain dump that gave you ideas, or did you write down ideas that you were stressing about? After brain dumping on paper, you can set your ideas up in a to-do list, which will have you more prepared for the next day instead of feeling rushed. When you look at your to-do list, you can figure out if they are absolutely needed, what needs to be done now, and what can be saved for later. Get out a planner and write down your lists and think. Get out a planner and write down your lists and things you need to do, then start writing them in days, or start writing them in the days you plan on doing them. In this last section, we talked about decluttering your mind. This part will discuss ways for you to declutter your mind in general. 1, let go of the past. As we have learned, anxiety and feeling overwhelmed occur because we worry too much about the past. I cannot repeat this enough. Let go of all that is out of your control. This is way easier said than done, but the main reason why people will try to control what is out of their hands is because they have developed perfectionism. Everything must be perfect. There is no room for mistakes. Our minds are so busy as it is that by thinking this way, you are actually just causing more havoc in your mind. I was trying to tell my cuz this earlier, and then I'm reading this to all of you, but this is the conversation I was having like 6 hours ago. But she wasn't open to listening. She was more into being frustrated than being solution oriented. Accept what is. That's what I told her. Accept what is. Practicing mindfulness. Let go of what was. Things you can't control. I told her this word for word. And be aware of who you are. You are not Superman or Superwoman. Mistakes are to be made as a way for us to learn and grow. And this is what I was telling her in regards to the kids. You know what I'm saying? Because she wants everything to be perfect. And I'm like, you have to allow for mistakes to happen because that's the only way they're going to grow. Because if you don't allow for them to make mistakes and learn how to grow, they're always going to be dependent, because that is how you are training them, is to always be dependent on you, as opposed for them learning how to be independent within this interdependent world. So let go of what happened and be in the now to help you understand what you can do for the future. Stop multitasking is number 2. I briefly explained in the last section that multitasking doesn't get you anywhere. When you are multitasking, you may think or believe that it will help you get things done faster. This is not the case, or the result, as you may have noticed. Instead, multitasking will get little things done and actually have you behind on the things you actually need to get done. When you are behind, you are more stressed, which results in more overthinking. Sometimes it may be difficult not to multitask. Like if you are planning your child's birthday and you have kids coming up to you and a cake to light or whatever to attend to. On these hectic days, be okay with being scatterbrained, right? Sometimes you just can't help it. That's a situation that you just can't completely control, so you just have to kind of roll with it and be okay with the mistakes or the uncertainty in those current moments. On the days that you can control it, just be focused on one thing. Look at your to-do list and tick off each task as you do it. 3, be decisive. The opposite of being decisive is when your mailbox is so full of mail that you don't know what to do with it, so you just leave it there, watching it pile up. This actually adds to your stress and should be dealt with. If you have bills, put them in a bill box. If you have letters that you are keeping for the future reading, put that in an archive box. If you have work requests, put that in a work box. Make some time to go through these boxes and deal with them one at a time. The bills and finances you could go over with your spouse if you have one. The work stuff you could talk to your boss or coworkers about. And your future reading material can be read on your downtime. Be decisive about what you will do with the immediate mail and pick a time to address the other stuff. 4, put your routine on autopilot. The little stuff matters, although it can really take up much of the space and energy in your brain to focus on other things. These things may include deciding breakfast or meals during the day, what you're going to wear, when you will have enough time to relax, etc. Get these small tasks and routines out of your head by setting them on autopilot. By autopilot, I mean the little things you do without even realizing. Yeah, the little things that you do without even realizing, you don't even need to think about those things because you're in the regular habit of doing those things that you regularly think about, but it's part of your habit already. So you don't have to over focus on those things because it's already a part of your routine. I'm probably going to read over. Get these small tasks and routines out of your head by setting them on autopilot. By autopilot, I mean the little things you do without even realizing. That's where I ended off. When you understand and recognize that these things will get done no matter what, which is what I was saying, then you don't need to think about them as much. This should help clear the way to help you focus on bigger decisions. Prioritize. The last task is much like the previous recommendation. And this is number 5, is prioritize. This last task is much like the previous recommendation. It includes making a list of all that needs to be done, and once written, forgetting about it because you have already made time for it. The reason prioritizing our tasks is so beneficial is because when we see what needs to be done at a glance, we can see what is most important and what needs to come first. Once we get that out of the way, we need to make time for relaxation, so add this as a priority as well. I'll give you an example. So once I'm doing I do a lot of instrumentals or beats, to simply put it. Once I get to a certain point and of completion within the beat, and I put so much attention into the pattern of this specific part of the beat, I will go away and walk away from my computer for about 20 minutes, a half hour, and decompress and settle my mind down. And then I'll go back to it. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't want to be overwhelmed mentally and emotionally from all the work and focus I just put into that specific moment. And rather than get highly anxious and just kind of go into what we would call a brain lock, it's just better for me to just, shut it down and relax and then refresh and come back. Mental clutter is such a problem because it makes us rush. It gives us the state of mind that things need to be done right now. It can really get in the way of our lives and stop us from making healthy decisions for us and for our children. When our minds are full of this task and what to do about that task, we don't have much space left for other things like enjoying life. Remember that life is not to be rushed, but about taking the time to live. Start living by following what's been said in this chapter and get familiar with what more there is to come. And that's going to be the end of our reading section for the day. When we go into our next reading session, chapter 6, break the second chain. A stressed mind is a stressed body. And I know I stated that in our opening monologue, is how your body is going to follow your mind. My man Bates back in Atlanta, when I was living there back in 03, he relayed this phrase to me: the mind tricks the body, body knows the mind is crazy. You know what I'm saying? And for me, the mind tricks the body, and the mind knows that the body is crazy. You know what I'm saying? And I just enhanced that reference, a phrase that was stated to me about 23 years ago. Because once I got more educated, I was able to decipher that more properly. But the main thing to end this conversation into decluttering the mind is to embrace what is. Like, first you have to accept what is. You have to be realistic as to what's going on. Be realistic into your shortcomings and how you think and how insecure you are. Being truly aware of that and knowing that is true should lead you into doing something about it. And if you are really serious into being aware and understanding that part of you, then you should be able to get to that next step of being solution oriented post problem. But first you have to be real again into who you are and knowing why that's taking place. Because if you aren't real into who you are and why that's taking place, then you're just going to continue to cycle into that problem base. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not being open, aware, and realistic about the problem existing. You know what I'm saying? You're just harping on the problem rather than just simply identifying the problem and then moving past that. But, once we get into our next moment, we'll be able to explore further into what I'm talking about. But I'm not going to go too deep into it right now because then I might confuse the conversation in our immediate moment. And our immediate moment is just going to stop into what we have already learned and then just decompress for a moment and then proceed forward next into our next level of evolution. But until then, let me end this conversation the same way I begin it, by stating that this is your neighborhood sensei Fouché, and I always end by first strongly suggesting before emphatically imploring for all of you beautiful, wonderful, self-loving, worthy individuals to stay woke, but in the process never get all stressed out. Always take any meditative practices and procedures to relax. And always, always, always be prepared to take those notes. Until our next moment, be smooth in unity, one.